You're listening to the Act As If podcast with Coach Roel. Real life success stories in business and investing as they happen. And now, here's your host, Coach Roel.
Welcome back to the Act As If podcast. This is part 2 of our interview with Elizabeth Kelly, who is a real estate investor extraordinaire, taught literally thousands of people in Canada in how to get started in and actually move forward with their real estate investing careers, activities, what have you. That part is real. And I'm so excited to actually catch up with the Elizabeth of today, present day, as we're recording this, and find out how much from the last episode was act as if, was let's pretend, and how much of it was totally real. So welcome back, Elizabeth.
Thank you. I love this. This has just been fantastic. I feel like every mastermind group should go through and do this activity because everybody sets goals, but to actually talk in the present tense, like that is powerful stuff.
Yes, that's was my vision. So I'm curious to find out a lot of things from you. Like, first of all, your experience about how it felt when I opened the platform to be able for you to expand on your vision. And then also for those who are watching this on YouTube or listening to the podcast, if they caught the part 1, which I highly recommend people make sure that they listen to that first and then come back here if they haven't done so. How much of it was real and how much of it was, your goal for yourself? So first of all, the overall feeling, how did it feel to actually talk about it as if it were real?
It made me really excited. It really, took goals that in before had been written on paper, and it really helped me feel how I would feel when that was my life, when I had achieved those goals and that was the life that I was living. So
how is that different from, because I assume you're pretty goal-oriented. I mean, you've done a ton since the time that I first met you and Emmett. How is it different from, or first of all, what prior to this and speaking it out as if it were true, how would you go about your goal achievements?
Well, normally, so every, and I guess it's a little bit cliche, but every New Year's, excuse me, my husband and I would sit down and we'd sort of write down some goals and what we wanted to achieve during the next year. And then we sort of just work it backwards. So we would assume, okay, it's, December of that year or the following year. And what do we want to be able to say we've accomplished this year? And then we stay focused on it as much as possible. We keep our goals right in front of us. We continue to remind ourselves and hold each other accountable for achieving them. The interesting thing is, though, what I've discovered is that even if you don't achieve your goal, even if something happens, a challenge that comes up for you, if you can shift from thinking about this happened to me and think about it as this happened for me, then the way that you're able to incorporate even the unexpected into your goal achievement is really incredible. Sometimes you can leapfrog and far surpass your goals when you see challenges as opportunities instead of as threats. You follow me? Making sense?
Yeah. And how is it different to play Let's Pretend? It's one thing, I know I do a similar thing where a lot of people will review their goals with their business partner or their spouse or both. But then to I don't want to say fake it. I don't like the term fake it till you make it. Some people say, oh yeah, I prefer act as if. But stepping into that role of the Elizabeth Kelly of 3 years in the future, how is that different from reviewing goals on a piece of paper?
It feels more visceral. It feels more emotional, and it feels more real to me. Before, in preparation for this podcast, I actually spent quite a bit of time journaling and writing down, what is it I really want? And sometimes we write things on paper and we think about them logically and they sound really good. But when you actually think about how would it feel to live that life, you can feel if there's if there's not really good cohesion between, who you are and what you want. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can become, for example, a real estate investor. You could become a real estate investor with honesty and integrity and, not committing mortgage fraud and saying that you're going to be living in a triplex that you have no intention of ever moving into. Or you could become a real estate investor who says, I have standards, I have ethics, I'm always going to be transparent, I'm going to honor people who invest with me and who, lend me funds that are going to, earmarked for their retirement. You can look at things, you can write down, I'm going to be a real estate investor, but until you actually think about what living that life feels like, you really have to make some decisions, I think, and you have to decide what doesn't work for you so that you can really move into the realm of what does. And I feel like talking about it as if it had already happened really made me think about it. And it actually made my focus and belief, I think, stronger than it was when I just wrote them down.
Mm-hmm. So let's break down I think we covered kind of 3 parts, which was in the previous episode was your coaching business. And then we talked about your real estate investing with Sandstone, and then on the personal side. So let's kind of break that down and unpack that. On the coaching business, how much do you have a coaching business right now? Like, be real with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I do. I actually launched it. So I made the transition from being a trainer at Rich Dad. I mean, I had, coaching clients that I had been helping since 2015. I think I was, I had a couple of clients a year, and they were just people who, I really felt like I could help them. And then in 2020, I resigned from Rich Dad and I started my own coaching business in January. So that was literally the month that the pandemic hit. So that was, being able to continue to give back and to support people and to support, the people in my network, while there was so many things going on, while there was so much uncertainty, while there was so much fear, it was just such a blessing to me. And I just want to keep, growing my business and keep, making a difference for people. And it's been quite a transition from the front of the room to one-on-one coaching. I mean, you know it too. Like, you're so immersed in people's lives and you're such a big cheerleader, and there's, you have responsibility. Things that you say have a tremendous impact on people. So you choose your words carefully, and you always see people as their highest and best self and what they're capable of achieving. So it kind of feels a little bit like, what I spend time envisioning for my coaching clients. This was an opportunity, your podcast was an opportunity to do the same thing for myself.
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. And on the investing side, on the personal investing side with you and Emmett, I know that you've done quite a bit, but if you can remember from just a few minutes ago when we recorded episode 1, how much of that was real and how much of that was aspirational?
Oh, I have no doubt that we will be, we'll be in this space within the next couple of years. Emmett and I have talked a lot about his skill set, and once there's a few shifts and some adjustments that we need to make in order to be right there. But I have no doubt that we will be able to make that in the future, and that I would hazard a guess that 90% of what I talked about is what will come to fruition in the next few years. Right. We very much want to be able to shift a little bit and have some more time freedom, and have, businesses that we've invested in, that we've, built over the last, decade and a bit. We want them to be at the point where we really can step back and be a little more hands off and know that we have the right people in place. And, we've created the systems and processes, and we'll always be there. But that doesn't mean that we want to, we want to spend more time with our family. Our parents are getting older. My dad unfortunately passed in 2015, but, Emmett's parents are in their 80s now. And we want to make sure that, what's the point in doing all this if at critical moments in your life, when your friends and your family need you, you're not available. So we've got this in the back of our head too, that, we want to be able to support our parents and be there when they need us.
Now, I want to delve into a little bit of specifics on that in particular, because I know that some people who might not know you or me before this episode some of the stuff that you've actually done sounds a little bit fantastical, but I know you have done them. So I'm going to call it out and be, make sure and make you blush a little bit. But you've done, I think I remember Emmett mentioning that there's a story where you guys had lifted the roof off of a building and then put a second floor and then put back the roof.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. You've done crazy stuff like that. You
Yeah.
really have done by the Burr method, by renovate, rent, refinance, repeat, etc. Yeah. You've had, I know you had another side business, not even side business, but another venture with a couple others for rent to owns.
Yep.
And you've done, I think, dozens, is that accurate, of rent to owns?
Yeah.
You've also done, from what I remember, fix and flips, obviously. There was a point, I think, in Northern Ontario, you owned something like half the town.
Literally half the town. It's just what people feel. But our goal when we came to Northern Ontario was just to, own apartment buildings and to be able to have somebody manage hands off. And unfortunately, we weren't able to really find someone who managed the way we wanted it done. So we started managing. And then when we realized all the opportunities up here, we sort of pivoted our company to be able to offer people the opportunity to do burrs on buildings in Kirkland Lake, but we would take care of everything from start to finish. So Emmett, with his engineering, he does all the permits and all the approvals and all the quoting and the managing and the trades, and Emmett handles kind of all of that. And then, we get everything rented. So we've done everything you say. And we like to be able to offer people the opportunity to be able to do it too and benefit from our knowledge. So yeah, you say it like that. And I go like, no wonder, 15 years have gone by and we've learned so much, because you're right. We've done pretty much every strategy.
Right. And on the terms of the private lending, are you there yet where you are really focused on the private lending, or was that aspirational?
No, we're transitioning. So we do have money out right now for private lending, all our RSPs and everything that we had from before when we, had jobs. All that has already been lent out and come back and forth, obviously, multiple times. But as we transition, and part of the growth that every investor goes through, I think, is you have to make a decision whether you keep the smaller stuff as you transition to bigger stuff, or whether, you let that go and sort of let those partnerships come to an end in order to be able to take on new, bigger, better things for you. So that's sort of a decision that we're thinking about right now in terms of, do we want to continue owning what we own, or do we want to let it go, pull everything out, and then start fresh with, some of the bigger stuff that we want to do.
Excellent. Very cool. And on the personal side, with the dream house that you mentioned that you built, have you built that yet? What stage is that in?
No, I've started doing my research, and I've started looking at communities and narrowing down where we want to be. And that's how I know that I want to be, Peterborough, Kawartha Lake, somewhere around kind of in that stretch. But we haven't found the land yet. And obviously we haven't built the house yet, but it's in my mind every time I look around, and every time I look at design magazines and look at what people are doing in real estate, I'm like, oh, I really like that. I'm going to put that in my little file here for when we're ready to go.
That sounds amazing. 100 acres. I remember you mentioned that. So it's out there.
It is.
And it would be an amazing episode for you to come back 36 months from now, for example, and be able to say, remember we talked about that once upon a time, or any of these things. That's what I'm hoping for you, for sure.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're not done yet, because I still want to talk about the overall experience, not the overall experience, but
so can we take that part out then?
We might, we'll see. See. But we keep it real here. This the second part of the interview is always more, down to earth and laid back. But I want to put you on the spot a little bit, because I know that it has been a while since you and I have talked, and we used to do those cash flow games where you were hosting, and we had nice conversations there. But I really would like people to get an idea of how they might be able to work with you. like on the coaching side or on the investing side, or even with the volunteer, or not the volunteer, but on the, the rescue dog part of your vision. Let's start with first, what did we start with? On the coaching side. Mm-hmm. How can people get more information about you? Do you have something to download, a website they can look at, or do they send you an email right away? How do you want people to reach you?
Well, people can find me on my website, ekconsulting.ca. I host webinars. I host 2 a month. So one, I think it's the second Monday at 7 and the fourth Monday at noon. I have 2 different webinar formats. So one of them, the evening one, is where I invite people and we have a conversation. We have a discussion. We talk about, issues. We talk about opportunities. We talk about things like, how do you find a good market? How do you choose the right strategy for you? These are the types of things that investors want more information on. And the lunchtime webinars are really more information based. So, we'll have someone from Scotiabank come on and talk about financing options with opportunities for investors with them. I'll have someone come on and talk about this financial planning tool that they've created that's specifically just for investors. So it's really the lunchtime one is really more about providing information on services and products that are out there for investors. And then the evening one is really more about education and discussion. And my webinars are free. You can sign up for them through my website just to join the mailing list. You can also book a discovery call with me. I'm easy to find on Facebook at Elizabeth Kelly Consulting. You can find me on Instagram at Elizabeth Kelly Consulting. So there's lots of ways to reach out, and I love, I haven't gotten to the point where, I'm so big that people can't find me or can't connect with me. Like, I'll respond to your message, and it really is a one-on-one interaction, because that's what I like. That's what I enjoy the most.
And if you can, can you describe the ideal client or at stage that a person is at with their, do you focus mainly on real estate investors? And if so, what stage should they be at? Or, can you expound on that?
Yeah.
I guess your ideal coaching client, what stage would they be at?
So most of my clients who come to me, they have done, 1, 2, maybe 3 deals. I mean, that doesn't mean that, people who are completely fresh can't come, but I find most people, by the time they decide that they're ready for a coach, they've usually done a few deals. And then they may have gotten the old, sorry, we can't get you any more mortgages. That usually prompts a lot of people to come. And either that, or they're wondering about, scaling up and growth. And a lot of people are thinking financial freedom. Like, how do I take this investing, that I love doing on the side? How do I turn this into my day job? And that's where people typically make the transition from, consuming information, from podcasts and that kind of thing. And really, getting some great information. And they go, I have all this in my head. I know all this. How do I take this and personalize it and make it apply just to me, to know this is what I should be doing next? This is what I should be focusing on next if I want to create this life that I want. So a lot of my clients, to be honest, it's funny, but I seem to attract couples. Because my husband and I are in business, and it's not easy. Like, you and I have talked about this before, when your life partner is also your business partner, it's always an adventure. You really never know what you're going to get. So I have a lot of clients who work with me who are couples, or at least who have a spouse who would like to know what's going on, even if they aren't necessarily, in it day to day. And I think I attract a lot of people who, it's not just about real estate. Most of my clients end up starting another business too, whether it's a demolition company, whether it's an interior design company, a construction company, a property management company. Most of my clients, we will start another business to actively generate income, because it will get them towards their goal that much faster. If you start a construction business and you do 4 flips a year, if your minimum criteria for a flip is 30,000, most people are more than doubling their income by doing 4 flips a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that sounds like you, viewer, Mr. Viewer, then make sure you reach out to Elizabeth at ekconsulting.ca. And now on the investment side,
Mhm.
that part, I think you had mentioned is a bit in a transition. So if somebody was like, oh, I'm not so sure I need coaching help, but I'm interested in what this lady Elizabeth has said about on the investing side, how are you still taking on investors for your sandstone business?
So if people want to invest in Kirkland Lake, then we will, we would be honored to help them make that happen. So, if you want us to help you find a property, or if you found a property and you want help with project management, renovations, renting, like we can help with all of that. So that's what we sort of transitioned when we got to the point where we're like, okay, we're not actively looking for partners right now. So we're just going to help people get into real estate, but they don't need to take on a partner, and we can help them do that.
Okay, so it's more like a service or a consulting arrangement?
It is now, just as we've transitioned out of actively looking for joint venture partners. I foresee, though, within the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to start, as we sort of shift and as we put our focus elsewhere and start looking at new opportunities. I know that we will be actively looking to find some new partners and some people who have the same vision and the same goals that we do. And I'm really excited for that.
I'm excited for you. That sounds all amazing. And so with that, I really do want to once again thank you for being on this podcast with me for my inaugural season for both episodes. And I really do see really great things for you as well in the future. And I want to be able to call you on that, to invite you back, to be able to catch up and say, you know what, we talked about this, we talked about that. This is how life turned out. That's my long-term vision. So from a selfish point of view, I really hope we can catch up again in the near future.
Absolutely. I would absolutely love to do that. And I'm looking forward to hearing your episodes, because I want to hear what you are envisioning for yourself in 36 months.
Oh, I'm not ready for the spotlight on that sense yet, but I'm getting there. I'm working with my coach as well as on that part.
For you. That's awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing that as well. And thank you very much. It's been great.
All right. Thanks, Elizabeth. Take care.
You too. Thanks.
You've been listening to the Act As If podcast with Coach Roel. Real life success stories in business and investing as they happen.